Hi, I'm James Abbott, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about how to make an effective operation in the call center, help desk, support center world. And I'm not just going to kind of give you a pep talk. What I want to do is talk a little bit about engineering, science, division of labor, and how that applies in the service sector, in particular call center and help desk world. This is the first part of a three-part series. First part, which is this one, is about why is this a big deal? And then the second part of this is about what do you have to make for an effective operation in your world, in your center. And then thirdly, how do you go about putting all those pieces together? So those are the three pieces associated with this thing. So let's dig into this why piece a bit and let's talk about it. Well, first of all, there is a myth in the call center world, and what that myth is all about is the idea that you can't have a great customer experience without spending a lot of money. You read a lot of journals. It depresses me. A lot of literature is out. Don't overspend. Don't spend too much money on your service. Well, to me, if I engineer it, if I apply science, if I apply Adam Smith's idea of division of labor, what you will find is the largest enemy of having good service and low cost is variability. And ironically, not only is nobody managing to it, nobody's designing to it, and nobody's even looking at it. It's the largest driver of everything associated with your operation. Well, let's just talk a minute about an operation. And what you'll find, you go to an operation, it's got one person. And that person happens to be really good. Okay? And what you find is, the more we work with that one person, the better they get. And they give the same message over and over again. But you add a second person, a fifth person, you get up to 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 seats. And what we find is the center is overrun. Well, what we've got to do is to understand that if I call your center and get an answer today, and I call back tomorrow, get a different agent, and I get a completely different answer, that's variability. Or it takes twice as long, that's variability. So the idea of an effective operation has to do with the consistent operation. Consistent delivery, consistent message, consistent tone, consistent amount of time for every kind of call. And the reverse of that is variability. Differences in what's said. So the idea here is what we're planning, what I'm proposing to you, is that we're really going to focus in on this thing and we're going to design an operation where we minimize variability. Okay? And as you minimize the variability, what you'll find is you're going to radically reduce your cost. So if you happen to have a copy of my book, The Executive Guide to Six Sigma Call Centers, and you will go to page 23, what I do is I talk about an example of queuing science. And rather than do all the math mumbo jumbo, which I love and I can do, but what I want to do is use an example everybody can relate to, which is a grocery store. Years ago, decades ago, in a grocery store, you'd go in and the only solution they had, if the lines backed up at checkout, was to add more people, open up more lanes. Nothing wrong with that. Kind of a costly option, but nothing wrong with it. Well, a while back, and I hope there was an engineer or a scientist or somebody who understands queuing science. And what they did is they applied queuing science with the idea of reducing variability, with the idea of making this a much more effective operation. And if you look on page 26 of that book, what you see is the results of when they built express lanes. Now, express lanes don't work just because it's 10 items or less. What we've done is we've reduced the variability of the total and put like kinds of stuff together in the different grocery store lanes. Well, that's the idea of a call center, help desk, support center world. What we want to do is reduce the variability. It takes some science. It takes some understanding. We'll talk more about that a little later. But the idea here is what you find is a crude approach in the book, in the grocery store, cost about $30,000 because I got 3 people. I'm making $10,000 a piece. And the overall wait time is about 10 minutes. But when I apply queuing science, minimize the variability, understand the idea of express lanes, open up an express lane, with 2 people, $20,000, I now have a wait time of less than the crude approach, or about 9.9 minutes. So, oh, wait a minute. We're giving better service, reducing wait time, and, well, this is the big one, saving money in the process. Whoa, this is what we're trying to do. So that's the name of the game. Well, a lot of people are looking for this, but they're looking in the wrong place. They go out and buy the latest, greatest technology. And I'm all for the technology. But what they do is they buy the latest, greatest technology, lay it on top of a crude approach, lay it on top of an approach that hadn't applied science. Structures poor at best. They don't have clearly defined processes. They don't manage the variability. And they find that this new technology makes things not better but worse. So what we need to do is do this engineering first and then come back and add the technology, because the technology does need to be there. Well, we've applied this idea all over the different service sectors. We've applied it in the medical profession, in insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, government, IT help desk, support centers, insurance, just anything you can think of, we've applied this technique. It's exciting. If you go to the web page, our web page, effectivecallcenters.com, and you go look at some success stories, we've had some folks that made amazing success. Well, if you go back to page 156 of the executive guide to Six Sigma call centers, what you'll find is I work through, because you'll hear a lot of people say you can't apply engineering, science, Sigma designs, Six Sigma. Well, if I try to shoehorn a manufacturing technique in servicing, why, certainly. But what we've got to do is from the ground up, that's what my world's all about. From the ground floor, building an infrastructure for design that allows you to design your centers to make them consistent and then effective operation. And then, oh, by the way, great customer experience, reduced wait time at low cost. So what I do there is I do a comparison of a crude approach to a Sigma approach. And what you find is we beat the pants off cost-wise. And oh, by the way, the wait times are lower. Oh, by the way, service is better. So this is the name of the game. And as an example, if you had a 50-seat center with 50 agents, and we were paying them $12 an hour, and they worked 8 hours a week, your labor cost would be about $106,000 a month. Well, when we apply engineering to that world, it is totally on a very conservative level to save, it's hard not to fathom 10%, but 10, 30% ought to be easy to achieve reduction in cost. Well, if that's the case, we ought to be saving about $125,000 to about $400,000, somewhere in that range of savings, and those will recur every month. I mean, that's the amazing part about the savings keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So what we need to do is spend a little energy, resources, and money to design this center to make it work well. Well, hopefully this has been kind of an informative kind of a session. Now the next two sessions, we'll talk about what are some of the tools that we need to engineer to make sure an agent has a really good chance at being successful. And then the last piece will be, how do you go about engineering that center? So hopefully I'll see you in one of those other future sessions. Or if you want to, you can go to our website, effectivecallcenters.com, and you can read about our approaches. I've got classes that I deliver. I've got books that I've written. We do coaching and consulting to help you engineer your center. So you might want to go to our website and learn a little bit more about this whole engineering science piece associated with call center and help desk support center world. Well, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully I'll look forward to meeting you at a later date. Thank you very much.